What is going on, everybody? Today we are back with the Origin Story podcast. And today we have a dynamic duo on today. This is the first time we've ever had two people on as guests, and they happen to be from the great state of Hawaii. So there's two first ones. This couple is probably the definition of a power couple. They have an amazing story where they're going to talk about how they were deeply in debt, and now they are not only cash flowing from the real estate, but they have so many cool ventures going on. They are a huge leader in the sub 2 group, especially in the Hawaii market, but even outside of the Hawaii market, they're just a big leader inside the group. They have an amazing social media presence, and today I'm excited to hear and discover the story of Kamohai and Tristyn. So thank you guys so much for hopping on today.
What is
up? And I have to give you props for the name. You said it perfectly. A lot of times people have a hard time with my name, so
yeah,
you rocked it.
Thanks for having us.
I've heard it so many times inside the group. So, and again, it's a pleasure for us to actually be able to connect and get to hear your story, get to connect with you. And Sam, if you don't mind, lead us in, my friend.
Yeah, absolutely. So guys, I've been in the community that we're all in. There's a community that unanimously kind of fits, the three groups here, and that's sub 2. I've been in sub 2 since last October. When I first joined, I knew nothing about anything. All I knew is that there was a power couple in Hawaii that people looked up to and people kind of edified. And then anytime I saw you guys, I was like, damn, they either got a dope setup, they've got a dope swag. Like, my man is always looking sharp anytime I see him. And you guys I've always looked up to you in the way that you guys run things. And the more that I heard about you, the more that I found out that you guys were phenomenal leaders, not only in our community, but in your local community in Hawaii too. And I've always wanted to connect with you guys. I had the absolute honor of finally meeting you guys at Clever Summit this year in Las Vegas. And you guys just live up to all the hype, truly. My man is so freaking tall. I knew he was tall. I didn't think he was that tall.
And I'm so freaking short.
it was like, wow, this guy, I usually think I'm a decently tall human being. And then sometimes you meet people and they make you feel short. And I told you right then and there, you and I, we had a little bit of a nice deep conversation. I said, I can't wait to collaborate with you to some degree soon. Now, I can't wait to go and hang out on the islands with you guys. But to start it off here, for you guys to come on the Origin Story means a lot to me. I know it means a lot to Logan. But I want to get into it. The whole purpose of the Origin Story is one thing. And it's that people who are getting into the world of entrepreneurship, of real estate, when they're trying to make this insane change to the trajectory of their lives, they can't necessarily relate to the multimillionaires who are driving around in Ferraris and they have Rolexes and mansions. All that stuff is amazing and it can motivate you, but that motivation is fleeting. What drives people to true action over the long term, this is a lesson one of my greatest mentors taught me, is being able to relate to someone's story. And that means the trials, the tribulations, the successes, the failures. And on the Origin Story, that's what we want to dive into. So we'd love to be able to hear a side of you that other people may not have seen yet. But let's get started. Please lead us into your origin story.
Brother, you are smooth. You were made
that was an
this.
Unreal intro, bro. Love that.
I'm done. Drop the mic. That was good. Wow. Thank you.
I appreciate that. Thank you, guys.
Go for it.
My wife is the best at the intro, but so I feel like we're very honored, right, to be here. Our community is by far the best community, right? And that's so important. I know we'll dive into that a little bit later because it's been such a major piece of our success, and the impact that we're having means so much to us, right? So that, and maybe we'll share some stuff we've been on some podcasts, but
he's feeling it, you guys.
Yeah. I told Tristyn too when we jumped on. I was like, dude, I'm stoked for this. I'm super excited for this. So yeah.
Okay,
let's go.
So how did we get started in real estate? Okay, so by trade, I'm a licensed mental health counselor. That's what I went to school for. And so that's all I knew, when before real estate, before all of that, all I knew of real estate was that rich people were doing it. My dad was a realtor when he started. And then I saw my grandparents have a house or two and like a commercial building, and then they would talk about how my great grandparents like were able to give them that, and that's how they were able to stay in Hawaii and almost thrive. So I associated wealth with home ownership, and I was like, okay, well, how the heck are we going to do that? Because coming from the nonprofit sector and the behavioral health world, you don't make tons of money. That's not what that genre of work entails. It's more of really leading with value, trying to help people sustain whatever positive impact they can have in their own lives, right? That's what it is. It doesn't really have a high monetary value. And living in Hawaii is freaking expensive, but he and I don't know anything else because we were born and raised here. And so we're like, how are we going to be able to, we just had kids and we're like, how are we going to be able to provide for them the way that we want to? So I was sitting on the couch and I saw a commercial on TV for Fortune Builders. I don't know if you guys are familiar with that mentorship, but it's a mentorship program and they were doing their like quarterly whatever. And I was like, yo, we're going. I don't care what you say. I'm dragging your ass there and we're going to go and we're going to check it out. And so that's exactly what we did. And the rest is kind of history. It really put us on the path to where we are now. And I'm so grateful. Like, obviously, I don't preach Fortune Builders because it didn't necessarily change my life, but it got us started in real estate. So I guess it did kind of change my life.
Yeah.
But that's a little bit about, I mean, me and where I come from. But
tell us
Yeah,
about
so-
tell us about your experience with that first mentorship, and like how, like, what did you learn from it? What were some of the things you took from it, and where did it like take you to that allowed you to like have that real estate bug?
Fortune Builders was really good at laying a foundation for fix and flip.
Yeah.
Would you agree with that?
Yeah, 100%. They were very, very focused on the fix and flip space and buying deals off the MLS, basically.
Yeah.
So we got a good groundwork and foundation there, and we did exactly what they said. We're like, okay, this is what these guys are saying to do. Let's do that. Let's start putting offers in on the MLS. I think what the major thing that Fortune Builders helped us with is just gave us like almost like a proof of concept, right? Like we were able to see other people that were doing it. We actually got our first deal through an ML, like throwing in offers on the MLS, what they were teaching us to do. One thing that was lacking, I would say, is the community aspect. We just felt like we were alone on an island.
Yeah.
But
legit.
Yeah, so I mean, just backing up like a little bit, Tristyn did give you like the overview. I was super skeptical when we got started. So prior to this, I owned and operated a brand called Aloha Beach Club, and we had 3 retail stores. My brother and I started it, and we were doing, I was making clothes for most of my life. And when that kind of died out is when we started searching for something else. And when Tristyn said, I saw this commercial, like, let's go to this seminar, I was like, dude,
that's a scam.
You buy houses with none of your own money, like that's impossible. There's no way that we could do that. And that was kind of the mindset that I was in. I went reluctantly to that seminar. I was reluctant throughout the whole seminar.
Guys, I was ready to like sign away my
She's
firstborn
like,
kid. I was like, here's my kid. I want to do it. I don't care, because it was like, I think they had different products, right? So you could have like the $20,000 one, or you can have the Lamborghini, which was like 100. And I was like, I don't know, just swipe, like, let's go. And he was like, what the fuck are you talking about? Like,
yeah, it took me a little bit. So we compromised and bought a package that worked for us at that time, but I was still not in the right headspace. So
mind you, we were already in debt, living to paycheck. Like we didn't have the money to do it,
Yeah, I think so. Then we started putting offers in on the MLS. We were putting in 20 offers before we got one accepted. And this was in 2018. So the MLS was a little different back then. There were still deals on the MLS. Yeah. A lot of the people we knew were doing deals on the MLS. So we ended up getting one. Worst flip in the world. I think anything and everything that could have went wrong on that house. Totally. We were over budget. We hired the wrong contractor. We didn't account for like a $40,000 foundation issue. This is how messed up it was. We did not even know that we needed to make a monthly interest only payment.
So they didn't teach you that in Fortune Builders.
Yeah. I thought that we got to buy the house with our money and that we just ballooned it all out at the end. So like we were like just taking action.
Just so green, so naive. Like it's truly the statement of you don't know what you don't know. It's so true. And a lot of this stuff you really don't figure out until I guess you're like in the middle of it. You know what I mean? We learned by doing for sure.
Yeah, big time. But
what were some of your guys' so as you kind of get into this, right? You don't really like you're very good into real estate. You rely on this mentorship to get you started. It sounds like you're project managing this project yourself. What are some of the emotions that you're feeling when all these things start to happen? Are you guys are starting to feel like, oh my gosh, did we make a mistake? Or you've been like, okay, we got to figure this out? Are you guys like starting to argue within? Like kind of share some of those emotions that happened on this first flip.
All of the above. Like all of the above. I mean, so he and I are both entrepreneurial by nature, right? And we're both alphas. So we both like to be in control. We both are outspoken and have our ideas and our ideas the right way. You know what I mean? So all the things, we were both wearing all the hats. We both had no idea what we were doing, trying to do it all. We still had our kids. We were in debt. It was rough, but I say that we're entrepreneurial by nature because it's not ingrained in us to like throw in the towel. That was never an option. The only way was forward and straight through the dark until you got to the end of the tunnel where the light was. So it was like, we're just going to figure this out. But we fought, we cried. I was stressed out, and I think my brother and my best friend, who's also my business partner in my nonprofit, were lenders on the deal. So the immense amount of pressure to not F everything up and not lose our money was tremendous. So, I mean,
like literally, guys, we would come home after the day and sit on the couch and look at each other and cry. Like literally cry. Like that's how scary it was for us.
Yeah.
We like she said, we would fight because we were both wearing all the hats. And dude, if we're doing something, I know how to do it best, and she also knows how to do it best. So both of our ways are the right way. But it was a scary time, but we literally were just pushing one foot in front of the other. We're figuring it out as we go. Luckily, one thing that Fortune Builders did teach us was how to underwrite a deal.
Very well. Yeah. No, they're really good at that. I give that to them.
Yeah, we bought the deal right. So even though everything went wrong, we didn't lose money, right? We held it for a lot longer. We went over budget, but because we bought it right, we came out unscathed.
All right, and check it too. So right when we went to list it, COVID totally hit and shut down all of our state. It was hitting everywhere, but right when the day before we were supposed to go live on the MLS to sell it, all of Hawaii got shut down, and that's when lenders started pulling funds, and it was wild. So we sat on market for months and had to do like price reductions, and hindsight's always 2020. So we should have just like refied out of it. It probably would have broke even or even lost a couple $100, but we would have had a rental. But it was so rough, you guys. But in the middle of that, then we went and bought another one.
Yeah. So in the middle of our first one, everything going wrong, we're buying another one off the MLS. And basically didn't learn our lesson. And a lot of the same things happened the second time.
Okay. A lot of the same things happened the second time. I have to ask this. We've had Well, I think Logan and I have identified a theme that we've had so many entrepreneurs, and entrepreneurialism is risky. We've had a lot of people who've lost a lot of things. We've had people come on here and they've lost freaking everything, like gone completely bankrupt, lost their homes, lost it all. And a key element that is unanimous, it is in fact mandatory with everyone that's going to succeed in this industry, and that's grit. People who have resilience, and you kind of you kind of brushed over it a little bit. You said that you guys have it because you're entrepreneurial. I want to know, that's not resilience, something that's easily attained. It usually, there's something that's happened in your life. Maybe it's a mentor, a father, a mother, or some things have beaten you down to the point where resilience, in my opinion, is a byproduct of being knocked down and then getting back up. The fact that you had this resilience this early on in the entrepreneurial space, I would bet you probably developed it a little bit before. So, I mean, I want to know, how did you get there?
Yeah. I mean,
Get it, Bim.
we both have completely different stories, I think, on how that was built. But okay, here we go. So when both my parents are very entrepreneurial as well. So my dad more so, I think, than my mother. My mother's super intelligent. She's the integrator behind. My dad's the visionary. So I always saw my parents working long nights and busting their ass. They had their own business too. So that I watched that growing up. But what I also watched was my parents abuse drugs and alcohol and go to prison. So I had to grow up at a very young age. I lost my parents. They went to jail. Luckily, I had grandparents who were also entrepreneurial, and they took me in and they took care of me, so I didn't have to go into the foster system, my brother and I. So I think it started there, right? Having to grow up, having to persevere, when you go through that. And it got my parents were on the news. Everyone saw what was happening in my life. I was young. So I was like, my friends knew. I had to push through school. I had to push through that situation. And I still had to, I had a choice. You could go down the same route, or you could choose something different and be better. So that was one thing, I think. That was probably the main thing that made me who I am.
Were some of those emotions, like, did you feel anger at them? Did you feel sadness? Did you feel like, what sort of emotions did you feel towards them at that moment? And how's your relationship changed now throughout the years?
I mean, I felt all of those things. I think my brother's experience was a little different from mine because he was a little older, but I think I was sad mostly because I missed them and I understood what was going on, but at the same time, I wasn't necessarily mature enough to like fully grasp that. But then as I got older, obviously, and then I became a substance abuse counselor. I mean, like, talk about going the opposite route. You know what I mean? But I was all the things. I was mad. I was sad. I was confused for a minute. But I think I always, the main thing that I understood from my parents is that they did the best that they could and they were still good parents. And I know that that sounds really weird, but they always provided for me. I never felt unloved. I never felt neglected. They were always present. They were just using drugs too. Like, I don't know. It's weird to say, but I still had really good role models with everything else. So I always still had a respect for them, I guess you can say. And I don't know what it is exactly, but I always just said, like, I'm going to choose this route and this is what I'm going to do. And I just did it. I guess it was like, I'm going to be successful no matter what, because my family is still successful no matter what from what they've been through. I feel like a lot of kids and a lot of families that go through what we went through, they end up divorced. They lose their livelihood. They lose their homes. They lose everything that they worked for. And that did not happen in my situation. My parents are my best friends. They're the number one supporters of our business. They watch and love my children. They are still happily married. They still own their home. They both only retired recently, I think last year, and are just very successful human beings. And so I think watching them go through that and still come out proved to me that you can go through hard stuff in your life, but it doesn't have to take you down a negative road. It can actually change your life for the better, and you can still come out on top.
That's awesome.
Yeah. So my side, and I don't talk about this probably enough, but so going all the way back to my pops, my dad was one of 11 children. We're native Hawaiian, so we're Hawaiian from this place, right? We've been here for generations. My dad then grew up in a 900 square foot house with 11 brothers and sisters, right? They were poor. My dad, from a very young age, made stuff happen, went to school. He ended up getting a job at the bank. For 30 years, he worked at the bank, worked his way all the way up to the executive senior vice president of First Hawaiian Bank. So a pretty big figure there. Then he went on to be a Kamehameha Schools Bishop Estate trustee. And now he's at the Herring Jeanette Weinberg Foundation. But I say that to say that my dad persevered, right? Not all of his brothers and sisters were as successful as he was, but what that did was he wanted to give us everything that he never had, right? So something that was good, but at the same time also hurt me. And I'll let you know why. So we weren't rich by any means, but my dad would give us anything, like everything we needed, right? And anything we wanted, because he didn't want. That's how he showed us love, was through things, right? And so what that did for me was it enabled me. It made me not work hard in my early years. And what I ended up doing, I found out that I had a very obsessive personality, and we can get into this afterwards, but it is a blessing and a curse for me, right? So I went down the partying route, you guys. For 12 years, I was addicted to drugs and alcohol. I wasted a lot of time during that time. I also got into a lot of trouble because I would get bailed out all the time. I was going in and out of jail. I've never said this on a podcast before, but I feel like it's something that can help potentially inspire some other people, right?
Yeah.
And so for 10 years, I was in that life for my whole 20s, right? What ended up happening, and something that switched for me, was I caught a bigger charge. Like, I was doing bad things with drugs. Like I was selling drugs, right? And in the end, I was sitting in front of a judge, and he basically said, "Hey, Kamohai, you have two options. You can go to jail for 10 years. Like, I'm done with you. This is what you're facing. This is what you're going to do. Or you can go to this treatment center." And so I did that. I went to the treatment center. I stayed there for 4 years. I've been clean since June of 2012. So no drugs, no alcohol, nothing. I am totally on a different path in life. Obviously, this is before I met Tristo. But the best part about this, you guys, like, that's where I learned how to be so perseverant and learn the grit, is because I literally was at the bottom, and I had nowhere else to go. Like, I didn't. I turned it around, and I made a decision that I was going to do something different, right? And then I did. I had to work really hard at that. But I met my wife at the treatment center.
Yep.
So Tristyn told you, okay? So we're getting like crazy right now.
Coming around. I see what's coming.
Tristyn told you that her parents ended up going to jail and had issues with drugs. So Tristyn's mom went through the same treatment center that I went through, but they saw something special in Tristyn's mom, and she worked her way up to become the executive director of that treatment center.
She was for many, many, many years.
Many years.
She ran the facility. So that's what I mean when I tell you that you can choose something different for yourself and still come out on top. So when I was going to grad school to get my licensure for mental health, I was like, Mom, they're going to make me do, practicum and internship. Can I just come work for you? Because it's easy, right? I'm like, just sign my paper. Like, come on. And then my mom was his boss. And so his desk was right across from my mom's desk. And we would just freaking stare at each other while I was like, doing whatever she wanted me to do. And yeah, I slid into his DMs.
Slid into the DM. So I told you that I was there for 4 years. The treatment center was only 2 years long, which is a long time. It's a long-term treatment center.
Yeah.
But they saw something special in me as well. And they invited me to come work at the treatment center in the office. So after the 2 years, I stayed and I was working, and I ended up getting a group of 11 guys, and I was counseling them. Like literally one-on-one counseling. I was teaching them how to do what I had learned how to do, right? No better way to be able to teach somebody is as if you've gone through that experience, right? So ended up doing that. I saw Tristyn one day in the office. I looked at my coworker and I said, who the hell is that? And he looked at me and he's like, don't even think about it. That's the boss's daughter. But long story short, she slid in the DMs. We started hanging out. We hung out every day since, and we've known each other for 9 years.
Something like that.
Yeah.
Logan.
So that's where
there you go. That's where it comes from.
Logan. Did I ever tell you I love a good love story?
Yeah.
I love seriously. That is amazing. Wow. You guys are, so you slid into the DMs because the guy that you were working with or that your parents had employed was basically hot. And then
he was super hot.
Oh
and
God.
well, my mom served him up on a silver platter. My mom was like, oh yeah, he's super smart. He talks well. He has a great family. He's tall, dark, and handsome. Like literally she full on was basically like telling me to do it. Mommy knows best.
I love it. I freaking love it. Oh my God, Logan, we need to go get some more dope love stories on this podcast. That's what we're gonna need.
Get it.
But I have to say this. You guys have gone into some things that are, like you said, a few of the things that you guys have never shared before on the podcast. And the fact that you guys were comfortable or open and vulnerable enough to do that today here with us, like that means so much to me. It's so special. And to your point, you said that you were hoping that someone would relate to this. The answer is yes. There's a lot of people that watch this podcast. We've had other people who've come on. They've had substance abuse problems. They've had troubled pasts. And the reality is the greatest impact comes for our viewers when people are open and vulnerable. So, and there's a tremendous power in doing that. So I have to thank you guys for that. Like truly, that actually, to me, so far is the highlight next to the love story.
Yeah.
Oh, thank
Right
you.
on. Love that.
It's so true. I feel like I was just having this conversation it was at one of our meetups with a couple. And I was like, when you go through stuff in your life, trauma, ultimately, it gives you the character that can't be built any other way. And it gives you that genuine grit that you guys are talking about. And it almost makes you overqualified to succeed in your life, because if that didn't take you down and you overcame trauma like drugs, alcohol, whatever it is, like you can do anything. And I'm not saying you have to go through trauma to become successful, but I'm just saying don't let that ever hold you back, because if anything, you have so much more in you that makes it almost easier. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I always like to say that your liability can also be your greatest asset.
Yeah.
Right. And for me, that obsessive personality, I was just pushing it in the wrong direction. Right. Yeah. Like if you learn how to harness that obsessive, whatever it is, right, and you put it in healthy directions, and you do things that are going to push you forward instead, like you got a leg up on the game. Like you have something that some people don't have. Yeah. You know what I mean? So it's a choice. It comes down to where you're going to put your energy. And I mean, for us, we decided to, you know, I feel like we found the best vehicle. I think real estate is the
Hands
best
down.
all-time vehicle in the world.
Right.
But all of those things that I struggled with for years then became my best, greatest assets.
You know what's really interesting is that your mom was the one who went through, and your dad, right? They went through the struggle of substance abuse and going through treatment, and it was them getting clean and changing their life that made her uniquely qualified to take the position that she did inside that treatment center that led Tristyn to a situation where he became qualified is that he was like you were somebody who was someone who did drugs, who had a problem. And then after that 2 years, you showed them, you know, your heart, your intentions were good. You became uniquely qualified in that position to get a job there. And the fact that you guys met through there, like it would never happen if your parents didn't go through that when they were younger. So
Isn't it crazy
the
how
irony in that is
God's
like
plan is? Yeah.
that's right. It's like everything goes my way. Like it's something I wear on my wrist,
Mm-hmm.
and it's something that I am a huge believer in. It's like everything's happening for a reason. It's just like why is it happening? And it doesn't make it might not make sense right now, but if you continue just to have that belief and have faith and trust, kind of like those are like some of the values that you guys have. We wanted to hear from the beginning of your story. Like look what's happened. It's led to you guys getting together, having babies, and then now we're talking about real estate deals, right?
No, it's so true. It's so true. And it's funny that you mentioned that because I write down every single morning as a part of my journaling and affirmations, but everything works out for me.
Yeah.
It's always one of them. Everything works out for me. You know what I mean? And it's true. You might not understand why something is happening, but if you are willing to go through that process and trust that God or higher power, universe, whatever it is, has your best interest at heart, like I would have never met you. You know what I mean? So it's like, they know what they're doing.
There was a plan.
Like, just let it happen.
Awesome. So
I want to highlight something before we move on. It's something that was really critical. Throughout my life, I've always been a little bit tough on understanding this idea of destiny. I always grappled with it, right? And as I get older and things start falling into place, you start seeing how stories come full circle. Like Logan just pointed it out. Your guys' story has come full circle, not just with you two, but the generation prior to you. Your parents didn't do what they did, the way they did it. You guys wouldn't be here today, building the legacy that you are. And I see stories like that, and it's like it's hard to fight the idea of destiny when I hear stories like yours. And it's amazing, but here's another critical element that goes past destiny. It goes past fate. And Tristyn said that there was a time where you made a decision. Your parents I believe your parents had just basically gone to prison, and you were living with your grandparents, and you actually had to sit down and ask yourself whether or not this was going to define you. And instead of leaving it entirely to this unknown power, whatever's out there, you decided to take it into your own hands, and you made a decision right then and there that you're going to live your life a certain way, and that way was going to be to succeed.
Yep.
So to anyone watching, it's a beautiful thing to do. I want everyone to do this every now and then. Just do an audit of the greatest relationships that you have around you. You know, whether it's your husband, your best friend, your wife, your girlfriend, and then just think and play with the idea of how if that person didn't meet this person, if they didn't go to Walmart the day they did XYZ, that your life would not be the way it is. And you will find that these little links are almost magical in a sense. But then when all that magic, it can lead to times where you are struggling, just like you guys were. You were, you know, like you said, you were at a extremely low point. You hit rock bottom, right? You were going to prison, right? That is a really low place to be in life. In those moments, you don't leave it up to fate. In those moments, you make the decision to succeed. So, all right, I'm done off the soapbox. I just had to get that out. That was amazing.
It's so true.
I love that.
So as you guys get into the second flip, you said you made a lot of the same mistakes. Where was that turning point for you in your real estate game where you started to get some momentum? You started to figure out where did that come from?
Yeah. So, I mean, it happened on the third property that we ended up buying.
Right around that. Yeah.
Right. But it was a twofold thing. So we got into another mentorship. Yeah, the theme in our story is education, mentorship, learning. Like that is something that we are huge proponents of and believe in thoroughly. So we met a guy named Steve Rosenberg, and we joined his 60-day challenge. And I'll let Tris talk about kind of what that was, but it was really all about mindset. And like I was saying, how hesitant I was, those first 2 deals, I was still like, this is scammy, whatever. Okay, let's do it. But you got to prove to me, that this is going to work. And I was proving to myself it wasn't working, right? The first 2 ones. But this is where everything changed for me. And that obsession happened for me. And I went into real estate full force and let all the walls down. But it was a 60-day challenge on mindset.
Yeah. So I don't know. I think I was desperate to be like, okay, why isn't this working? We just paid all this money. We just had 2 failed flips. Like, why isn't this working? This isn't what I see on Instagram. This isn't all the success stuff that you see. Like, what is wrong with us? Like, I don't think we're stupid. You know what I mean? Like, what's going on? And so I was searching on Instagram and I came across Steve Rosenberg's page. And then, you follow who they follow. And then I started seeing other Hawaii people and I was connecting with them. And so he is more of a business and mindset coach. He isn't necessarily like, this is how you do real estate. He's more like, yo, why are you doing what you're doing? And what systems do you have in place to actually do what you say you're going to do? His background is real estate, as well as being a pilot for like 20 years for United, I think. But so he really made us sit back and ask ourselves why. And I know that we now, right now that you're in real estate and you start doing deals, like, and you're in mentorship and community, you need to understand, and that gets brought up frequently. Well, what's your why? Why real estate? And you're always like, well, what do you mean? Of course, real estate. But people don't genuinely ask themselves that question. And so he forced us to do that. He forced us to sit down and ask ourselves why. And then we're like, well, we want financial freedom, right?
We want time freedom,
That's
all the things.
That's what gets brought up frequently, right? People do real estate for money. Okay, but why do you need more money? Well, I want more time. Okay, but why do you want more time? Like, he taught us that you need to ask yourself at least 7 times why, in order to truly understand what is the driving force behind that decision. Okay, if it's real estate, then you better get down to the real reason. And so that was the first time we got asked that question. We looked at each other like, well, what the hell? Yeah, why? Like, why are we even,
Yeah.
why are we fixing flipping? Like, what do we really want? And ultimately, after we peel back all of our layers, right, it's impact. And that's always what it's been. And obviously, real estate and financial freedom and time freedom is a byproduct of that, but bigger and the solid thing is impact. So we figured that out. And then he made us start thinking like a business. He's like, if you really want to be successful at something, stop treating it like a hobby.
It's not a hobby.
It's not a hobby. You can't treat it like it's something you do on Saturdays for 4 hours, because it's not. You need to treat it like a business. You need to figure out A plus B equals C, have the systems, and get serious. And so he made us do, he's like, do you have a mission statement? Do you have a vision? Do you have core values? And we're like, oh shit, like we need to get it. We need to get it together.
Know what we're doing.
So like he really, and I'm that type of person too. I'm very black and white, call it like it is. And so I really gravitated towards him because he's a no bullshit kind of guy. And I love that. I'm a very straight shooter, and so is he. So it was your why, it was business structure and getting real with the fact that you're running a business. And then it was mindset. And it was like, what are your goals? And he's the one who introduced I am statements and affirmations and morning routines to us, because before it was like, drink coffee. What are you talking about? Morning.
Start working, run. Like, yeah, there was none.
Morning
we had
routine,
none.
you know? So it was like, okay, we need to start that whole concept of the universe and what you believe and what you're telling yourself and the inner dialogue. And the most important real estate is actually between your ears. That's where we got introduced to that whole thing, and it changed everything.
Yeah.
It genuinely I think it primed us, like fully primed us to be able to go into Pace's mentorship. Because
it was perfect.
We did that 60-day challenge and did all that work. And then I found Pace on YouTube right after that from my girlfriend on Instagram introduced me to it. And so we were just ready. And then
he really helped us plan it out too. I think a lot of times we're just shooting in the dark, right? Like, okay, let's start doing real estate, and we're just doing what's right in front of us, right? So he had us like get a detailed, clear vision on what we wanted and how long it was going to take us to get there.
Yeah.
We had to be on the same page. Our vision, that was like one of the most important things for us, was we sat down, looked at each other. We both wrote our own things down, and then we came together and we got very clear on it, and we mapped the next 5 years out. And that was game changing for us.
We should find that paper and see if we're on track for the 5.
I know.
Because then we did a 10-year and then a 20-year. So we should just kind of see where we're at. But yeah, I mean, that was monumental. But the biggest thing that changed our entire life was mindset, and understanding that whatever you're thinking and telling yourself, you're absolutely correct.
Yeah. What you focus on expands.
What you focus on expands. And I can tell you that it's very cliche and it sounds like, oh yeah, whatever. That's what everyone says. But dude, if you work it, it works. And it's that simple, because the house that I am sitting in right now is a byproduct of this concept. We were renting up until this point, up until January of this year. We had accumulated rentals, obviously, and we were doing deals and whatever, but we still didn't have a primary residence, and we wanted to stop renting. And it was like, okay, but I want it in Kailua. I want it to be where I was born, where I was raised, in the streets that I rummaged through when I was growing up. And so I wrote it down every single day for basically a year. I was like, I'm going to live in a home in Kailua. I'm going to live in a home in Kailua by 2022. I was very specific. And when we got this house, which is like, you can talk about that, marketing and networking and all that. But I always had this like gut feeling like, should we be keeping this house? Universe, well, we really need the money. Like, our business needs the money. We were supposed to make $500,000 from this flip, just this one flip. So like that was going to change. That was going to help us fuel for the next couple of years and pump it back into our business, and then do the deals and the bigger things that we wanted to do. And this fell apart, like fully fell apart. We finished it, listed it on the market, and
we signed closing docs. Like, we saw our settlement statement. What we were going to make $582,000 on this deal.
Yeah.
The deal fell apart.
While we're in California, and he walks in.
Wow.
It was a cash deal. He walks into the room, and I could just tell from the look on his face. He's like, babe, I guess we're going to keep the house. And I was like, wow, like it was bittersweet, right? Because you're like, oh my God, like, okay, now we're going to go down this other path, because you thought you were going on one. And that's that whole concept of releasing control and letting the universe give you what it is you were asking for and what you believed was already going to happen. And so now we're sitting in the house that I manifested and wrote as a goal for an entire year. And not only, we didn't make $500,000, but now I have a home exactly where I grew up, literally 2 streets over from where I grew up, where my parents got arrested from our house. Okay. And I get to raise my children. I went to high school down the street, and now I have all of that equity. We were able to do a cash out refi and get paid $30,000 to live here.
Brand new house. Yeah.
So that's the power of mindset. and your beliefs and what you're telling yourself and what you focus on truly does expand. If you believe it will happen and you experience it as if it is happening, you are absolutely correct.
That's amazing. So you basically got rid of these limiting beliefs that you had in your head, right? That were stopping you guys from even knowing where you were going, let alone taking maybe the steps to get there. But it sounded like it also gave you the clarity to find maybe like that was like the strategy, you know, of like understanding where you want to go, then understanding the strategy to get there, but then maybe the tactics open up to you from pace, right? And
Correct.
and the sub 2 mentorship. So kind of explain when you started taking care of your mindset and then how pace and sub 2 came into your life and how did that impact your business and yourselves personally as well.
Yeah. So that was everything. So we had done the mindset mentorship with Steve Rosenberg. We did all of that at the same time we were doing our third flip, and that third flip really gave us and our business our proof of concept, right? It was a townhouse. We did the reno in a month. We sold it in a month, and we made
still a record.
Yeah, we made 30 grand on it. Right. So we made money in real estate. We're like, we looked at each other. We're like, hey, this is what we're supposed to do. This is what it is.
Don't jupe us the 9 grand. It was 39
grand. And so we're like, yay. Okay. We did it. We're making money. This is how it's supposed to be.
Yeah.
And at the same time, we found pace. We dove full force in.
That was the first mentorship I didn't have to drag him to do.
Yeah.
He instantly saw pace on YouTube, and he was the one that called and
scheduled. There was like an unseen connection. Pace didn't even know it yet, but I feel like a lot of people get this feeling, right? But so I knew, right? Pace was talking to me, and we just dove into it. The first Q&A I jumped on, I was like, this is me. I'm from Hawaii.
He didn't have an actual question.
I didn't have I made a question up, and Pace and I connected, and then we brought Tris on, and we just like hit it off. And I was like, okay, this is like the real deal. We need to dive into this as much as we can. So I started implementing. So listen to this. Before Pace's mentorship, we were just throwing offers in on the MLS. That year we had done 3 deals off the MLS, right? The 2 horrible ones, and then the one we joined Pace's mentorship. The very next year we did 17 deals, and they were all off market. So we didn't buy anything off the MLS. And so what we did was we started implementing what we were being taught. We realized that we are a sales and marketing company, and we do real estate as a byproduct. That's what happens because of it. So we built out our marketing side. Luckily in Hawaii, nobody was marketing. So
at that time,
there's like a lot of investors here, but most people buy deals off the MLS or through referrals. Nobody, all the people that we were doing outreach to, and I would get on the phone with them, I was the very first person they've ever spoken to.
Yeah.
And it's still very much like that today, but we found our tribe, our community, in the mentorship, and basically started implementing all of those things. Wow,
that's amazing. And so tell us about these deals you're finding. So, well, actually, let me back up here because I am I'm a nerd, right? And so what I do when I go to the gym is I listen to either podcasts or I listen to Zooms. And the fact is that I'm inside sub 2 as well. And one of the things that I've been in sub 2 for almost a year, I went through starting at the beginning of the Q&As all the way to 2020 and started watching all the Zooms just so I could honestly figure out who all these people that Pace talks about inside the Zooms. And obviously you guys are one of those people. So I listened to that Zoom where you guys met for the first time, and he was asking about, who's Tristyn, and you guys, basically telling your story. It's just funny how this all going full circle even for me in this situation.
Funny.
Yeah. So cool.
That's so funny.
And you guys hadn't done any wholesaling, right? I learned all that from the Zoom. So those first 17 deals that you guys did, were they all fix and flips?
Fix and flip or fix and hold?
Fix and holds.
Yeah. I think we had like one seller finance, majority were fix and flip, and then some refis. So
So yeah, Airbnb and a couple long-term rentals. The rest were just fix and flips.
We've never, I mean, we've wholesaled, I think, in our 5 years of investing so far, like three deals.
Yeah.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
You guys are crushing right now in your business, right? And I want to hear a little bit more about not just the business, but I want to hear more about the thing that you guys have behind you, and that's Deals in Aloha.
Love it.
Yeah.
Yep.
So that was birthed from the mastermind, actually. So we went up to Pace's mastermind. I think the second one he did. I forget when it was, but
yeah, I think it was the second one.
I think it was the second one. And he basically told us he's like, if you're not doing it, you're stupid. And we said, okay. So I was like,
it was actually a more in-depth conversation, but we went out to dinner with April Giuliano, who is now one of our best friends. That was the first time that we met her, and Pace. So it was us, April, and Pace. We went to the Korean barbecue spot that he loves. It was amazing too. But we had a conversation there, and it was about meetups.
Yeah.
Like literally, he's like, dude, you guys have to go back home and start doing this. And so that was like the kick in the butt that we needed. But I think before that, we were already on that path, because in Hawaii, especially when we were getting started in real estate, everybody here is just super competitive. Like, you're my competition. You know what? Actually, you shouldn't start getting investing because you're going to fail.
And it's really hard. Just don't do it.
Yeah, just don't do it. Super scarcity mindsets. We promised ourselves after we got some momentum that we were going to start something, and we were going to create a space, a safe space for people like us wanting to get started in the real estate space. So that was already like kind of happening. Like, we knew we wanted to do that. And then Pace told us that. We got home from the mastermind. We did a meetup that month, and we've done one ever since.
Yeah.
Wow. And what is the frequency that you guys do these meetups? And yeah, like, what does it look like for someone out there who's maybe like, hey, like, I like that. They're a local real estate investor in their town. Like, what's the structure of it, and what sort of benefits have you seen from it?
Yeah, cool. So I think you want to talk about it? I mean,
well, I think the basic nature of it is that it's open to everyone, and everyone is accepted. Because when we were first getting started, like he mentioned, there was no abundance, but what there also wasn't was meetups. And if there was, it was invite only, and you had to have a certain amount of deals under your belt to even be able to enter the door. And so, that's not helpful. Like, how can people get started and access relationships and information if they're not even allowed into the door? So we were like, well, we are doing the opposite of that. So it's open to everyone. It's once a month. We hold them every single month. The date and the time's usually 10 a.m., but the dates are always different. And we hold them at our projects, but at other people's projects too. And
I think that was the coolest thing. Like, that was what set us apart, honestly.
Because we were like, well, I don't want it to be just about us. That's too much. Yeah. And believe it or not, I am not liking light. Like, I don't like it. I'm actually more in the back. Like, I'm cool with people like being behind him. You know what I mean? Like, so having a monthly meetup where like you're the focus every single month, I was like, I want nothing to do with that. So we were like, well, let's highlight other people. Like, there are so many cool people here in Hawaii, investors, other entrepreneurs that are just doing really dope stuff. Like, let's highlight them, because their perspective on a situation or what they went through on that flip, what they learned, their numbers, how they got the deal, all the things, people can learn from that. There's so much value in that. So let's, if they're willing, showcase them, show what they're doing, and they can teach other people, and people can learn, and then the collaborations can form from there. So that's really what Deals in Aloha is. It's just showcasing other people's projects, other investors doing really cool things. We've had, contractors roll through. We've had our title and escrow officer roll through. Like, it's just a really fun time to hang out with other people and talk story, make connections, provide value to each other.
I think in the real estate space, where there's a lot of people ego driven, right? I mean, we see some huge egos, right? And I think for us, that meetup traditionally is just about the person that's throwing it. And I think that gets monotonous and that loses interest very quickly.
Yeah.
The other thing that she said is so important that I want to touch on is everybody sees the world through a different lens.
So true.
Right? And so if you're going to meet up from the same person, he's dealing with the same issues, seeing the world through the same eyes.
Yeah.
There's not as many opportunities to learn there for the people there, right? So if you have it at somebody else's house and their issues, maybe they're at a different level than you are too, right? Different levels and different issues, seeing things differently. They have a lot more to offer. So Deals and Aloha was that. And it was basically created out of necessity, I would say.
Totally.
Yeah.
It's really cool. Actually, now that you said that, it makes me think about all the past ones, like we've been to projects with actual developers where they're doing ground up construction, building literally from dirt into this beautiful duplex. And then you have where other people are just doing full gut renos, and it's just totally different conversations, different experiences, and it's just so we're learning stuff,
It's unreal.
It's so cool.
Yeah, big time.
It's cool because what you guys are doing is like you're taking the spotlight off of you by like you're the ones who are running it, but you're putting it on other people. But by doing that, you're also creating influence, and by just like by showcasing everybody else, like people actually want to come back to you. And like, what are some of the benefits that you have got from this, whether it's intentional or not? Like, have you guys raised money from it? Have you guys got deals from it? Have you guys got partners with it? Like, what has been some of the benefits?
All of the above. I think
All the things.
Deals and Aloha is our personal brand. So when
Yeah.
people, think of Kamohai and Tristyn, I hope, and I think it is happening, that they think of Deals and Aloha. And I think before we started, went live, we talked about the social media and doubling down on YouTube and content and really having a personal brand. And that is how you are identified. That is how you build credibility. And so that's what Deals and Aloha is for us.
Yeah. Deals with other sub-2 students in Hawaii, a ton, partners, raise a ton of money. Like you said, right? Like the whole thing behind it is shining a spotlight on somebody else, but it all comes back, right? Like that was Pace's whole thing. It was like, dude, do the meetups consistently. You have to be consistent with it, right? Just that's a theme in real estate in general. You have to be consistent with everything you do. But if you're doing those things consistently, then you're gonna set yourself up as an authority in the space.
Right.
You're the credible authority. And so when people do come in, who are they going to come to when they have a question about a deal, or an auntie that wants to sell a house, or, so there's just, it all comes back around.
Yeah.
This
awesome.
is, one of the most important things. Logan's heard me say this. He's probably heard me say it too many times in my life. And it's that this is something that, all flowers go to Pace on this. Pace taught me this, that he prides himself not on his ability to lead. And the number one thing he looks for in his students, in his apprentices, his proteges, his prodigies, isn't their ability to lead, it's their ability to create more leaders. And this is something that when he first told me that, he told me that personally, like kind of one-on-one, and I didn't get it. I was too young to get it. I was too, maybe immature to get it. And as I hang around more leaders like you guys, like Logan, like some of the other amazing people we've had on here, one that you mentioned, April Giuliano, is a phenomenal leader. And it's not the one theme that I see to anyone who's watching, if you're newer and then you want to get into a leadership position, accept and embrace that your best way to do it is to not actually make it about you leading. It is about you highlighting those around you. And you mentioned that. It's you guys have a little bit of a podcast that you guys do as well. And you guys highlight other people and some people that I know very well, and you're giving them the spotlight and you're just edifying them and you're giving them a platform to succeed. And the reality of what you're doing there is you're making a long-term investment in that human being. And one of the most beautiful things that I've learned, Logan has helped me get to this point of clarity in my life, is that I realized that I was, benefiting a lot. I have time freedom. I've got some money coming in, things like that. I was like, oh, it's because I'm a real estate investor. It's because I'm investing in real estate. 5 minutes later, I realized, no. It's maybe because I'm investing in business. I'm an investor, period. And then I was like, no, that's not it. Logan taught me this. I'm not an investor in real estate. I'm not an investor in business. I'm an investor in relationships.
Yep.
And if you guys want to prosper as human beings, as entrepreneurs, as investors, like deals and properties and fix and flips and wholesales and XYZ, all of these things are just tools.
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
The real monetary gain and, you know, spiritual gain, emotional gain, mental gain that you get in this game is truly from investing in other human beings. And the fact that you guys are doing that in a way, and this brand is amazing. Like, you know, the Aloha Squad, every time I see anyone post in Sub 2, I'm jealous. And it's like, I feel like an outsider looking in at the Cool Kids Club, because you guys have such a phenomenal time. And I think I said this, you know, when we first met in Vegas, I was like, I just want to go and visit the island so I can hang out with you guys just for one meetup.
Come.
But
Please, both you guys gotta come.
Yeah, Logan has gotten me into traveling a lot, so like I'm on a plane all the time now. So I guess the next one I have to. Okay, I'm flying over the Pacific to see you guys.
There you
But
go.
truly, what you guys are doing, I have to say, it is, as someone who's trying to become the best leader that I can be, I look up to people like you and what you guys are doing. It's inspiring.
Thank you,
Dude. I appreciate that.
Yeah, that means a lot. And you're right. At the end of the day, no matter what business you're in, for us, it's real estate. It all starts and ends with relationships. People won't truly remember what you did, but they will remember how you made them feel. And so if you can literally leave, and people know bullshit. You know what I mean? Like, you have to show up as your authentic self. And if your true intention is to form that relationship and to grow in it, it'll flourish, and people will genuinely receive that. So it's all about relationships. It starts and ends with it.
Yeah. I think it's so freaking cool to see all of these leaders being born in the Sub 2 community. Like that, and I've heard Pace say this like a lot of times too, right? That's his greatest quality. And to actually like get to talk to you guys and see your journey in Sub 2 and like just in life in general. And there's so many people though, like that are like rising up and becoming these super cool, like impactful leaders in this bigger umbrella that's Sub 2. It's just, it's an honor to be a part of it, honestly.
Yeah. The community that Pace has fostered, I believe it just gives you permission to be a leader. And I think a lot of times that's all we need is we just need the permission. And once we give ourselves the permission, Sam said it really well to what Kamohai, what you said is like, you just made a decision, right? So once you make a decision to be a leader, you'll figure out how to be a leader. Like, you'll find ways for that value. And that's one thing that I've been part of multiple different types of mentorships, and the Sub 2 community is, I've never seen that fostered to the level that Pace has done. That it's just like made it so it's not only just an option, but like you're called to do it. Like, you have to do it. Like, if you want to continue to grow, you must be a leader.
Yeah, it's a responsibility almost, right? Like he does a good job of showing you that, you know, like, hey, you're not doing something. It's your responsibility to do this. Like, this is something that has been given to you. Like, you need to get out and do it. I totally 100% agree. Yeah.
So as we talked about, you guys doing fix and flips, fix and holds. You guys have Airbnbs. If you go to your guys's Instagram, if you guys aren't following them on Instagram, go to Instagram, go follow them on Instagram. It shows that you guys have Airbnbs on there. It shows that you have your listings of things that you have, like your flips are on there. It shows your podcast. You guys have a mastermind. Like, what are the things that you're focused on for the end of 2022, going to 2023? What are the things that you guys are trying to grow? And if people want to connect with you, what is the best way? And like, what do you guys need in your business right now?
For us, our main goal right now is to get into commercial and to acquire 20 plus unit kind of
multifamily.
Yeah. But through creative. I'm not saying we'll turn down a cash deal if it makes sense. You know what I mean? But we're really focused on just growing our portfolio through creative finance and doing that through multifamily. And
I think
in Florida.
Yeah. In mainland markets for sure. I mean, we're in Florida now. Like we just bought a fourplex that we're turning to Airbnbs. We're
Right.
looking at a couple like 24 unit properties over there. And we have April. So she's like a partner with us on all our deals over there. And she's boots on the ground. She's a rock star. But I think one thing that was important over this last year, what we realized is that we don't necessarily want to grow our fix and flip business. If anything, we want to scale our fix and flip business back because, dude, fix and flipping is so active. Like we're involved a lot, and we have teams. Like we have a project manager, we have admin people, and like a ton of construction crews, but we're still very actively involved. It's stressful. It's overwhelming at sometimes. Yes, good problems to have. I'm not complaining, right? There is a lot of opportunity to earn a ton of active income, especially in Hawaii, at doing it. But what our goals are and what our vision is for the next 10 years of our life, we need to build our passive portfolio as much as possible right now. Get to a point to where we can choose to do fix and flips, not have to do fix and flips. You know what I mean? So very focused on mainland multifamily, bigger deals. That's kind of where we've been
like last 2 quarters.
Yeah, last 2 quarters. So
yeah.
Awesome.
And then continuing to build the systems that I really started this year, and just I'm trying to dumb it down to the ridiculous so that I can plug and play anybody in that position and they'll get it. You know what I mean? So, and that takes time, and you have to really change your thinking from working in your business to working on your business. And so I'm right now working on my business so that I can, focus on all the other things that we can't really talk about.
yeah.
and really prepare for that, and then build our portfolios and stabilize what we have. And then we love fix and flip. Like, don't get us wrong, we're never gonna stop. Like, we love the transformation. I love design. I love what we do, but like he said, it's very active. And we didn't get into this right when we talked about peeling back our why and all this stuff. It wasn't for another job. Fix and flip, although totally worth it, you get high payouts, very sexy, it's another job.
Yeah. So
I really quick, I have to say this. I'm glad that you said that you're not going to leave fix and flip behind him. It'll be mitigated and kind of minimized a little bit and automated as much as possible, so you guys can get your time back. I was really hoping that you wouldn't leave it. Why? Because you guys have some of the best after products I've seen in the fix and flip game.
Thank you.
Like
Nice.
the care that you guys put into your deals and the design of your deals. Because let's be honest, 99% of fix and flippers use the same gray and white tones with the same LVP, with the same this and that and the other. It's copy and paste, and I get it. But you guys actually put like thought and care into it. And so anytime on Instagram I see you guys do a walkthrough before and after, I'm like, damn, this is why I can't do fix and flip, because I can't do that. I'm not that good.
Yeah.
But
I'm blessed.
yeah,
I married the best designer in the world.
Oh
So
gosh. But yeah, I mean, that's why we love it. We love it. And that's why I think I want to systematize it as much as I can. And we're not looking to scale it. I mean, we're doing 20 to 30 a year. That's a lot for us in our price points and in our market. And because everyone is special, that's what fortune builders teaches. And they're very good at that. And I see why they do that, because you can fully remove yourself from it. I just can't do that. I can't put the same thing in every house. It almost makes me want to throw up.
It literally doesn't work well here in Hawaii either.
Yeah.
Like the price point that we're at and the areas that we're doing business in, like you need to have a custom design product. I mean, you don't need to, but if you do, you're going to sell for a lot higher than the other guys and a lot quicker, especially in today's market with raising interest rates, like what's happening right now.
Yeah.
There's still buyers out there in Hawaii. We're not seeing like we're
not crashing.
Yeah. A big drop. There's some normalization happening in our market. like prices aren't really going down. It's just taking a little longer to sell.
Days on
So
market.
yeah, days on market a little longer.
I think they're like 13 or 15 is average.
Yeah.
Right
But
now. Is that funny?
It's getting rough out there.
I know it's crazy. But Hawaii is notoriously sheltered from a lot of this stuff just because of its location and you know, the high demand, and it's an island. We're not growing any bigger, but it calls for a custom product, so it fits very well with what we do.
Yeah. I think it's important that what you guys said there is really important, because I think a lot of people think that when they see the fixed flip shows, they see the standard, you know, backsplashes and countertops and all that stuff. And maybe in that market, it actually makes sense. And maybe it's like in their best interest to actually do that type of stuff. And what you guys have realized that, and ironically enough, it fits with your personality as well, is like, it doesn't work in your market. The fact that you're doing your high-end customs things, like you'll invest more in the energy, the time, and even the resources to get the different countertops and the backsplashes, but you'll get your money back on the back end. And so anyways listening, I think that's actually important to decipher, that sometimes like that is actually important, that and also it goes with your personality. And the fact that you can get those aligned means that the chance of you staying in the game, specifically at the fixed flip business in the higher end market, there's a good chance of it because you like doing it. Right.
Yeah,
totally.
Big time.
Totally.
So as we start to wrap up here, and we have listeners here, like, man, like I'm really connecting with you guys, whether they're in the mainland or whether they're, you know, over you on one of the islands. How can someone provide value to you? Whether they're the resource, whether they can be resourceful, like what are the things that you guys need in your business to help you scale or to help you grow your brand or whatever it is that you're trying to do? Like if someone's out there like, man, I really want to help these guys. I resonate with you. You guys gave me so much value. I want to help you. How can they do it?
Such a good question.
I know. One easy one right now is we're looking to bring people on the team. So one specific position that we're really trying to fill is like a video person. I mean, I know it's like something like we need it badly. What would you call it
it's
though?
So much more.
Yeah, it's
than
more
like
than
video
just a video
person.
Yeah.
You need a personal assistant that can also hold a video camera, and
right.
We need a Bobby Canode or an Eric. That's what we need. That's what we're looking for right now.
I think we're looking for like a brand manager or a creative director position where they're really the conduit between our vision and then fully getting it executed. So with videography, obviously content creation, editing videos, but more so with that, it's really being a representative of Deals in Aloha. It's helping us with our podcast. You know, when we're running our podcast, there's 3 cameras, there's a lot going on. And then the correspondence between collaborations that are going on. So a bug, sorry. There are a bunch of things. I mean, I feel like it's like a brand manager / creative director.
Yeah.
I don't know.
What else?
Multifamily real estate, man. I mean, let's link up and see what we can do. We're buying. And then just reach out. I feel like you never know what can come. So if you have a question or you just want to say hi, like come say hi.
Yeah. I love talking to people. So as much as like as busy as we are, like I love getting DMs and talking story with people. So please do reach out.
Yeah.
Where is the best place for people to reach out?
Right there on social.
Yeah.
At Kamohai and Tristyn on Instagram, TikTok, YouTube,
Facebook, and YouTube are all at Kamohai and Tristyn.
All the things.
Yeah. But Instagram's normally the best, like DM on Instagram. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I can't wait to hang out with you guys. I'm just super excited.
Let's
I
go.
Dude, you
I
gotta
don't even know what I'm
come.
doing
We'll
after
show
this.
you around. You can stay at
honestly,
Airbnbs.
you know what?
Yeah.
I think it's about, I came back to California like a few weeks ago, like maybe a week and a half ago, and I'm like, you know what? It's about time to get on a plane again. Now, where to? I know where. We're gonna go hang out. And do some
where
cool
in
things.
Cali are you?
Yeah, where are you in
California,
Cali?
we're the only affordable place in California.
Yeah.
Not Logan. He's laughing because he's like, you need to get out of
He's in
Cali.
Minnesota.
Yeah, exactly.
He's in Montana. Logan's in Montana. Montana's dope.
I'm sorry.
Yeah.
Well, you know what's funny? So I'll hang out with Sam in where he lives in Fresno, and I like Fresno. I thought it was like a cool place, like a smaller town in comparison to California, like 500,000 people, which is still still big.
Mhm.
But yeah, just Sam, just really appreciate you and your wisdom, and Tristyn, Kamohai. Thank you guys so much for coming out here, sharing your stories, and like just the fact that how it all tied together to how you guys even met.
Yeah.
Like amazing. Thank you guys for sharing that. Hopefully anybody else who is maybe just getting on now or didn't hear the beginning of it, like go back and watch it, because how they met is actually really cool and really impactful. And it just makes me think about Ed Milet's story of his dad. Like what made your mom qualified for the position she was at was that she was a drug addict, that she abused drugs and alcohol. And I think that's what made her qualified for her to hire Kamohai. And that's what made him qualified to take that position. And then that's how you guys met. I think that's just so cool. So cool.
Yeah, I appreciate you guys asking the questions, to pulling that out of us, because I do feel like it's an important part of our story. It's just we haven't really ever talked about it. I mean,
there's always hesitation, right? Because you're like, how are you going to be received? And then you get in your head, because you're in an industry that you're dealing with a lot of money. There's a lot of moving parts, and so you're like, what is too much to share? But you got to get over that, because ultimately it's not about you. It's about your journey and your story and how you can help other people. So
impact, baby. Let's go.
Awesome.
Yeah, right on, you guys.
Cool. Well, thank you guys so much for hopping on here. Sam, thank you for being an amazing co-host. If you guys haven't already, go follow Tristyn Kamohai on Instagram, on YouTube, on TikTok. If you can find him on Facebook, go find him on Facebook. And for another episode of The Origin Story, I'm Logan Manzanares. Sam Singh. We're out, guys.